Money make the world go round. I'm trying to get it all right now. Everybody worry about the crown being. Look, homie, I'm the man right now. Talking to a peon, kind of time we on. Jump roll like the kind of take eons. Got a little buzz, it's time to go beyond. Can't look back, no time to hit rewind. Yeah, she wants to do S-class. I'm like, boo, you must ask. They pour way too much in your glass. Just move your hips like a whole up class. Hit the gab, I talk that gap. Strut like up, man, I walk that shit. When I'm up, that's it. I'ma start living reckless. Get that bag, I'ma walk like this. Yeah, I'ma walk like this. Hit that lane, I'ma walk like this. Walk in the spot, but they all get lit. Tell them on flow, let me talk my shit. Every song bang when they drop in hit. Stand on the man, post stop, no miss. Over your head, next time, don't slip. Play your part, better read that script. Yeah, I'ma walk like this.
Today's episode of the Wrestle Arc Podcast is brought to you guys by our friends at Fanatics. Folks, make sure you check out Fanatics, which is home to the WWE shop. Folks, if you folks need to gear up for your next WWE live show, whether you guys are going to Raw, SmackDown, whatever have you, you guys need to check it out at the WWE shop right now. Folks, they have awesome deals going on right now. You guys definitely need to check this out because this shop, I heard, has been having some exclusive deals. The Big Bill Saturday night's main event. Yes, and guess who's the poster boy for that? Yeah, no shocker. Fucking John Cena. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Not only that, but the number one selling shirt on there that we have to promote is Karrion Kross. Yeah, so make sure you folks get his merch. Randy Orton has a new shirt, which is RKO Everybody. There's new merch for John Cena's farewell tour and so much more. You guys need to check it out at fanatics.com. Of course, folks, we also need to promote this event happening June 20th through the 22nd at the Jarvis Center in New York City. It is Fanatics Fest. And folks, the WWE, the American Nightmare is going to be there. Rhea Ripley's going to be there. Yeet is going to be there. Kevin Owens is going to be there. Charlotte Flair is going to be there. Tiffy Time is going to be there. Jacob Fatu is going to be there. Liv Morgan is going to be there. And of course, 2 WWE Hall of Famers, including The Undertaker and Trish Stratus, are going to be at this event as well. Tickets are available right now. Make sure you guys get it and join them at the #1 sports fan festival, Fanatics Fest in NYC. All right, hi, people.
To answer your chicken question, Radio, no, they lay eggs.
I still think they fart. That's why the eggs taste funny. Anyway, welcome to the Wrestle Arc Podcast.
Wow.
I don't know why that question popped up.
What a way.
But anyway, welcome to the Wrestle Arc Podcast.
Hi.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yep.
We have a pay-per-view we need to go over.
Yep.
We have some stuff that happened on Monday.
Yep.
We have Liam here, we have Peyton here, we have Des here, we have Noble here, we have Raul here, we have me here, we have Peyton here, and we have an Orange. Yeah. So
oh my god, this is a surprise appearance from me.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
Still no camera, even though Radio wants me to put my camera on.
Dude, he had his camera on before we started the stream.
Yeah, I'm not.
Now I think he's. Anyway,
if he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to.
Well, we have a lot to get into.
Me
We have a
too.
lot to get into, so we need to get into it like now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So where do we want to start? We want to start with Backlash because someone else has to recap that because I did not watch it.
Yeah, let's do Backlash.
No. Let's do that.
Does anyone have the results for Backlash?
Noble does, I think, right? I think.
Jeff Cobb debuted in the first match.
Yes, he did.
I'm gonna pull up the results right.
Oh, for Christ's sakes. All right. So we have the U.S. Championship, U.S. title match. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. What were your guys' thoughts on that match?
Amazing.
Great match. Like, a great match.
I didn't. I didn't see it, so I can't
Yeah.
say.
I liked it. I liked it. Jeff
Yeah.
Cobb, everyone.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun. I
Good
mean,
match.
like, a whole lot of stuff happened. I thought, for me, LA Knight was probably the MVP because he was literally running through absolutely everybody at one point during it. And then obviously you have, I mean, Damien Priest was there. Drew McIntyre, who, in my opinion, should be in a higher position on the card. He did his stuff. He was good as per usual. And Jacob Fatu is Jacob Fatu. Anything he does is great. It's awesome. And then also the ending of the match saw Damien Priest and Drew McIntyre fight off into the crowd. They climb up a structure. Damien Priest does a sample having through a set of tables which are covered up below. Rumor has it Drew McIntyre is not in the best of positions after that. May have hit his head on the concrete floor, but Triple
Yeah,
H said in the post-show thing he's fine. Apparently he's just banged up. And then the big thing though that led to the finish of the match was, I think it was Jacob Fatu and somebody else was on the outside of the ring having a little scrap. Solo
was Knight.
shows up for some reason. And then all of a sudden, a man absolutely cross-bodies the shit out of LA Knight against the ring post, and it's revealed to be new signee and potential Bloodline member, I guess you could say, Jeff Cobb.
Jeff Cobb in WWE. That's something I cannot believe.
Jeff Cobb working with that new bloodline. That'd be
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes off the recent New Japan departure, I suppose, even though on Twitter, he's been trolling everybody, saying he's retired.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
he's just like, after the event as well, I thought he posted the funny thing is like, enjoying retired life, here's me with the St. Louis Arch. Even though he was in like California like a day or two prior, somehow managed to still get over there for the show. But yeah, no. And then
so,
obviously do the moonsault that Jacob Fatu does, that's how he retains the belt.
yeah, so I didn't, like I said, I wasn't able to watch the pay-per-view, but the one thing that I constantly saw on Twitter was this Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre spot. And Drew, I'm surprised how he's not fucking injured. Like, just from the way that he landed and everything, it looked like he completely missed.
Yeah, I mean, the tables did break, but it looks like Damien Priest took like the brunt of whatever was blown. Maybe if I had to guess how many were underneath there, I'd have to say it was 2 tables, no more, no less. But I think they could have done with a 3rd or 4th, given how far they went on the spot.
I think what happened was is maybe they like Priest and like overshot the tables that he was supposed to take, but even then, that it did look like a scary landing for McIntyre. I was actually worried about him. I was
Well,
like,
when you
"Oh
cover
fuck!"
when you cover him with a black sheet, you know, there's always a chance something could go wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true.
Yes. And I suppose we'll then move into the second match, which I think was
It was Lyra Valkyria
Uh,
versus Becky Lynch for the IC Championship.
I was about to say that, and for me, this was the best match on the card. I don't know if people
Okay.
agree, but I agree. It was, for me, it was the best match on the card, hands down. You know, they started out very technical to start with, a lot of grapples and holds being exchanged, a lot of mat work, and then progressively got more and more into the striking and especially high flying from Lyra Valkyria as the match progressed. But then obviously the finish saw a lot of trading of pins. Becky tried to grab the rope at one point. Referee obviously spotted it, so you can't do that. You know, Becky being the big heel that she is at the moment, and then obviously Lyra then, I think, pinned her with some kind of roll up to retain the title.
Yep.
And then after the match, Becky Lynch, still incensed and angry that she did not win. And as we'll get to a Monday Night Raw later on, we'll, digest the whole motives for the heel turn. But yeah, then they had to bring out producers and referees to break them both apart.
Yeah, so the again, this was another thing that I had to look on Twitter to see what happened. But the only thing that I saw about this match was just a screenshot, and it was Valkyria getting the win with the pin, but she was like holding on to her face. So I was like, for a minute, I
Maybe
was
she
like,
broke her nose, but
well, yeah,
I don't think she
the,
broke her
the
nose. She said it was fine.
like the way that I was sitting there, I was like, wait, is she just crying like because she's pinning Becky? Like that's what I got because I didn't have any context, but just based off the one screenshot, she's like this, and I'm like, wow, she's crying because she pinned Becky. That's emotional. And then Monday Night Raw was
Yeah,
like, yeah, no, she might have broken her nose or something,
but no, it's just like Lyra's now beaten Becky twice, I think, 3 times. Either one of those.
Twice.
Like,
I think that's
Twice.
twice.
yeah, because she pinned her to win the NXT Women's title Halloween Havoc a couple years
Yep.
ago, and
Yeah, and
then
then
obviously
this,
now this past Saturday Backlash. So
Yep. That's her second
Um,
straight victory against Lara. I mean,
so
Becky.
here's my question for you guys because I want to ask you guys this question before we move on. Who do
But-
you guys think is gonna take that IC title off in Valkyria? I mean, do you guys think that this rivalry is gonna keep going and Becky's gonna take it off her, or do you guys think someone else
I
is gonna
think,
take it off her?
given the post-match angle, I think it's going to carry on. Becky's
it's
promo
most like
suggested to me
Becky.
she's setting up to either continue that or branch off into other things after that's done as well. But because she said she's coming for everybody, so that could be anyone, you know. But then it's just like, for me, the right thing to do, given the post-match angle, is to continue the Lara Valkyria feud.
I mean, I think that feud is carry on. I believe it might be headed to SummerSlam here.
Ooh,
Possibly, but you know, there's still got Night Champions, Money in the Bank in between all of that, as
True.
pay-per-views anyway. And not in that order, I don't think, but I think it goes
Payne, what do
Money
you
in the
think?
Bank and then Night Champions.
Again, I didn't see Backlash, so I can't say anything.
God damn it, Payne.
Okay.
Raul, what do you think of the match?
Sorry, what?
What did you think of the match between Becky and Lyra?
Oh, yeah, it was a good match. Yeah, it was possibly the best match on the card for 100%. I think it's either going to be Julia, Roxanne, or Stephanie that will take the title off her.
Really?
One of those NXT stars, when they get called up to the main roster, will take it off her.
Watch it be Roxanne.
Really?
I bet you it would be Roxanne.
I would not be mad if out of those stars that Raul mentioned.
So the next match on the card was IC champion Dominic Mysterio versus Penta.
Mm.
Now, from what I saw the ending to the match, and I don't think I've ever been more happy.
What?
In the ending
Oh,
of this
yeah.
match.
Yep. It is by Jonathan Elbow.
But no,
Yeah.
for those that watched it, I mean, what'd you think of this match? Was this like okay-ish?
So it's an alright
it was
match.
fine.
been better.
It was fine. I think it would have been better suited for an episode of Monday Night Raw, personally. That's just me. But it was good enough to, again, it protects Penta in the way that they've had El Grande Americano essentially headbutt him, so that Dominic could then hit the frog splash and get the cover to retain the belt. But at the same time, it just means, I think, Penta's immediate future still seems to be a mixture of both feuding with Chad Gable / El Grande Americano and Dominic Mysterio jointly, but it's just, again, Finn Balor's there in the background, and I still think he should be the one to beat Dominic for the Intercontinental Championship.
I mean, I think that's what that's building up to, right? Like we all know where this is leading up to. It's gonna be Dominic
Oh, yeah.
versus Finn here soon.
Yeah.
Well, in recent episodes of Raw, you've seen Finn talking to Roxanne Perez in the background. As we know, Triple H puts things in the foreground or background, and they're all there by design.
Mhm.
So You know, it's
Triple H is cooking something. I don't know what the hell he's cooking, but I'm interested in it.
well, with a lot of things going on lately that, not being funny, I think some of them are, you know, more direct and straight to the point and have a layer of subtlety to them, but you can see enough through it. And then there's also stuff in the mid card where there's one or two feuds between several people, and while that keeps it interesting, I still think it's a bit confusing and can muddle the direction if not done properly. But it's a start, and I don't, as I said, whatever the stuff it is that leads to Finn Balor eventually turning on the Judgment Day and saying to Dominic Mysterio, "I'm taking the Intercontinental Championship from you, Dominic Mysterio," because all the reports point to a Finn Balor push in the summer. We're at the start of the summer. There's still another few months to go. So it's just the way Judgment Day matches have been ending has always been the same as it's always been. You know, there's interferences, there's run-ins, there's some shenanigans going on. That means the heels either win or sometimes, especially in Finn Balor's case lately, it's backfired. But it's, you know, it's a matter of time for me when Finn Balor becomes Intercontinental Champion.
Ooh.
But moving on, in Backlash, we had the next
Yeah.
match, which was the co-main event, which is a term I still hate. We have Pat McAfee versus Gunther.
Now, I watched this match. I was able to get a sneak peek of this match. And I know people said that I thought it kind of fucking was a good match.
It
I
was,
thought it was
to
okay.
put it into a certain type of word, it was just typical sports entertainment bollocks. You know, like you could tell Gunther was like, "Oh, I'm facing someone who's not necessarily a wrestler, therefore I can have some fun." You know, you could see he was like sort of enjoying himself and whatever. And obviously, Gunther did largely dominate the match, but then the whole story was that McAfee's like, "I'm not backing down without a fight." Michael Cole eventually gets involved, tries to help him, and even holds his foot down off a suplex counter from the apron, but that then warrants a 2 count. Eventually, Gunther sort of just says, "Right, time for me to kill you." Does a little chop powerbomb, sleeper hold thing. Pat McAfee passes out. The other thing I have a problem is the post-match angle for me, which is, you know, you got Cole McAfee in the ring on one side, you got Gunther on the other. Then Gunther offers McAfee a handshake, which McAfee didn't take. It's not that I have an issue with McAfee shaking hands with Gunther. It's Gunther even offering that in the first place. Because while I can say, he's like, "Okay, you fought well, well done. Here's my sign of respect to you, McAfee, and I'll go." But that's not within Gunther's character for me. That doesn't make sense to me. Gunther is supposed to be the meanest, baddest dude on Monday Night Raw. And you're telling me he had to shake hands with Pat McAfee. For what? You know?
I think it was more of a you did good type handshake, and now I don't have to. Now you know not to mess with me type handshake.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I got
In my opinion,
I got that, but it's still not within Gunther's character. It doesn't make sense.
no, I agree. I agree because Gunther's supposed to be like the baddest motherfucker there.
And he
But
fully believes he's the best wrestler on the planet, which he kind of has every right to believe, because, you know, enough people say things online and say, "Yeah, Gunther is good." There's also
Well-
one half of Twitter that thinks he's boring, doesn't understand him. So
well, plus you know he keeps bringing up the fact that you know he spent most of his time in WWE as a champion.
that's for
Which-
good reason. Because when he does, he's the very best at the type of match he puts on. You know? Like, in terms of hitting people very hard, or being technical, or doing power moves till somebody physically cannot stand up anymore, he's the very best at that. And it's just, again, as I said, I had a problem with the handshake. It's like, why are we going far off of that? Because that's not his character. That's not his gimmick. He's like, I'm better than everybody else. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But now we get to the main event. The main event that I'm really kind of pissed off that I missed it. It was undisputed WWE champion John Cena versus Randy Orton in a last time ever that these two will face off. The history between these two, and I gotta tell you, I'm gonna be honest here, and everyone can be mad at me and say I don't know wrestling. I am very disappointed with how this match ended.
You're not the only one.
Agreed.
Like,
So,
if I
well-
can speak on that for a minute.
yeah, go ahead.
The match was fine to start with. You know, they were doing a lot of the usual shtick. Started out a bit slow. Somehow they did manage to pick up at whatever pace they can, given their age and what have you. There was a lot of pullback spots. You know, the shoulder tackles John Cena does. There was the one that was into the RKO. We had an attitude adjustment into an RKO counter. Then we had John Cena doing an RKO. I think Randy may have went for an attitude adjustment and whatever. And then, yeah, but then you get to the ending of the match, and there's one ref. They go outside, and there's tables involved, and then they go back in the ring, and then there's another ref bump, and then they do some more shenanigans where Cena's like trying to kick him in the balls or poking him in the eye or whatever. And then you get another ref bump, and because they're still brawling, you bring out Nick Aldis, you bring out the producers, and as in like, this person gets an RKO, 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 everybody gets an RKO. It's Oprah style, you get me, okay? But
Yeah.
it's the
It's a mess.
John Cena's how he won the WWE title at WrestleMania. Sort of thing, same thing sort of happens, but less to the degree, if you know what I mean. Less ref bumps, but then you have Travis Scott get involved anyway. That's awful. Everybody hates that. I hated it. I didn't like that. But then you do this at Backlash, and for me, like, the finish just fell flat again. Because if all Cena's matches while he is WWE champion, while he is a heel, are going to follow this same formula, I'm sorry, this is going to get stale really quickly. And I mean
It
really
will.
quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and I
here,
hate it.
so here's the reason I'm pissed off with it, right? And again, people can correct me down the line, but I've pretty much watched these two ever since they came in to the company, right? Like, I remember Randy being a long-haired prick, you know, friggin' whatever, and John Cena was, you know, ruthless aggression, slapping Kurt Angle and whatever. These two have had such a long history with each other that, yeah, I was excited to see that they, you know, did some old moves that they pulled from the different matches, you know, and I was like happy that I saw that. I was like, oh, you know, Randy hitting the RKO when Cena's trying to do the 5 moves of doom, pretty much, and you know, the attitude adjustment into the RKO. I was like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm seeing a lot of flashback stuff here. It's awesome. You know, they're doing a lot of callbacks. Here's where I'm getting mad. If every single John Cena match that he's going to have is going to end with just outright bullshit shenanigans, which is constant ref bumps, other people getting involved, and like, I understand they're trying to move the storyline for R-Truth and, you know, getting him involved and whatever have you.
That's what I was going to bring up as well.
But
It's
but
just-
here's
yeah.
like, if it's just gonna constantly keep, and Ross, like, no, I get what you're saying. Like, I know that Roman pretty much did the same thing where he had a bunch of family members save him.
At least with Roman,
where-
it fits.
Yeah,
You
with
know?
Roman, it kind of, you know, went along
the
because,
puzzle.
you know, whenever they really got involved, it was like, okay, well, we know that that's, like, we saw the debuts of, like, Solo and, you know, we saw the whole bloodline coming together. We saw Sammy join the bloodline, and like we saw like everything just kind of all coming together, right?
Correct.
With this, we know Cena's not losing that belt anytime soon. We know
Yeah,
this,
but
right?
I'm saying if he has to be on, I get his whole thing. He wants to ruin wrestling, but does that mean you deliberately have to make every single finish to a John Cena match bad? No. Like, if you're going to build a John Cena and R-Truth at Saturday night's main event, which is what it kind of tells me after the press conference stuff where he's put Truth through a table. I mean, Truth was involved in the match anyway. It was like he's trying to basically save Cena. Then Cena said, "Get out my fucking way," basically, and then he, whatever. And
Yeah.
he's like, if you say another word to me, I'm going to do something, and there will be repercussions. And he put him through a table. But then, if Cena has to cheat with overbooked nonsense where there's so many ref bumps, and then hits R-Truth with a title belt shot, and then beats him with a pinfall off the title belt shot, why? No disrespect to R-Truth, but he's not at the same level as a Cody Rhodes or a Randy Orton at this stage in his career.
Right.
You need Cena. He can still cheat to win, but I want to see him beat him with either an STF
And
making him pass out so aggressively, or with an attitude adjustment after the belt shot. I don't want to see overbooked nonsense for him to beat R-Truth, who was not realistically, in the kayfabe, a credible threat to John Cena.
well, this was the other thing too, right? And this was another thing during Roman's title run, right? Roman didn't. Not every single match that Roman had was like, oh, his family members got involved and that changed everything. Like Roman still was able to beat most of his opponents clean.
Relatively clean.
Yeah, relatively as clean as, you know, it could be without any of the outside shenanigans. It's just, I want John Cena's final title run to, you know, I mean, we know he's up there in age and we know that he's retiring, but I mean, come on, show me a little bit of Super Cena here. Like have him just fucking go out there and like clean, man. Like I know he's up there in age and I know he's not going to be able to do some of the same shit that he's able to do, and like I get that. But I think the expectations were about up here for what we've been getting, and it's been kind of, for me, it's kind of like right here.
The turn itself has been better than the run.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it wouldn't matter.
The turn itself was a moment in time, but as far as I'm concerned, they're failing to capitalize on it.
See, here's also the other thing that's, I think, what's making this bothering to me is we had this whole angle where The Rock and Travis Scott were involved, and I think we all had an expectation of maybe this Cena heel run will involve those two a little bit more. I think.
Well, according to the reports, Travis Scott's set for a match very soon, and he will probably tag with Cena. So, but it's just like, nobody wants that.
I mean, look, when Hogan turned heel, right? He had this long run because obviously he was with the NWO and everything was kind of, you know, new and everything was kind of moving around and everyone was like, holy shit, like the face of wrestling was working with these two other guys that made this whole huge thing, right? But Cena turning heel, I think I was kind of expecting that same thing where now Cena has like this little heelish group of The Rock and Scott, and I'm like, okay, maybe, you know, those three were gonna do something, and instead we're just getting Cena now doing just heelish things, but with not any
That's my thing, right?
expectation.
With the Rock thing, I've said in text form in various places, if you're gonna show up to start a storyline, be there as much as you can to further it along. If you're gonna half-ass it, don't bother showing up at all. You can still manufacture a Cena heel turn without The Rock showing up. You know what I mean? You can still do it just as well without The Rock involved, in my opinion.
Yes.
Everyone will probably look at this and be like, "What are you fucking talking about, mate?" You can still do that same angle they did at Elimination Chamber in a different way. You know what I mean? You can still have Cena and Cody, you know, having the whole respect thing. You do the hug thing. You got the cameraman behind Cody, and then Cena's face drops. They pull away, kick him in the nuts. They can still do all that with Cena doing it by himself.
You want me to be honest with you? They should have done the Cena heel turn at Mania. And you want to know why? I feel like it would have been huge. You would have had The Rock come out. You would have Travis Scott come out with him. I feel like that would have made Mania, like that whole main event, huge, because it would have been like, oh, the ref bump, The Rock comes down, you know, everyone thinks that, you know, Cody's going to work with him. Cody says no, and then The Rock, like, looks at Cena, and then all of a sudden Cena turns heel right then and there. Like, I feel like that would have made it, you know,
But the thing
worth
is,
something.
The Rock's comments on the Pat McAfee show don't exactly help his case. I get his schedule outside of WWE is crazy. He can't be there all the time. But as far as I'm concerned, Rock, you're only there to collect a board's director's check, and you're only showing up for a pop because that's all you care about getting. You only care about getting the rush of a pop. You do not care about furthering storylines, about furthering angles that you insert yourself into. So as far as I'm concerned, as I said, if you're going to show up and commit to something, show up and be there as much as you can to further it along. If you're going to half-ass it, don't fucking come.
I agree with you.
Don't bother showing up because you're not helping it. Because we've had this whole hanging cloud of like, why has John Cena sold his soul to The Rock? And we still haven't got an answer to that question. He says it then turns it into a You People promo. Like his whole promos is him complaining at the crowd, which, don't get me wrong, sometimes it's very entertaining and very funny for him to do. But the point is that's all you're going to fucking do. There's no depth there. You're not justifying your heel turn in any sense of the word. You haven't explained why you sold your soul to The Rock, which was the main manufacturer point for you to turn heel. And you still haven't explained it.
Okay, go off.
Well, here's the other thing, and people point this out, that after the match, John Cena kind of had like this little moment where maybe he's starting to think about things. I can guarantee you how SmackDown is going to go. Is he scheduled to appear on SmackDown tomorrow? Does anyone know?
It's not been announced yet.
No.
I guarantee you he's going to come out and do this whole, that little moment means nothing. I can guarantee that. But nonetheless, so yeah, obviously Backlash ended the way that it did. We're just saying that. And by the way, Ross wanted me to officially say he's going to be on the podcast next week. Don't forget about that. But
oh, great. Welcome.
Kind of lost my train. I guess what I'm saying is they better be going somewhere with this whole Cena heel turn, because right now it started off hot and it's kind of slowly dying.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it was hot, but it literally pummeled on the ground. Like, his title reign as a heel at this point right now, like, it's just stale as fucking cereal. It's just me.
But in a way, we have to blame ourselves, because let's face it, we were the ones that have been begging for years for a Cena heel turn, and yeah, this is what we got.
I have something to say.
Yes.
Didn't he, when he first turned heel, make a comment that he's gonna ruin wrestling?
Well, so far he's doing a terrific job.
You can still do that
That's
without
the
it
whole
being.
fucking point.
Yeah, it may be the whole fucking point, but you can still do it without it being deliberately bad every time. Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do that sort of thing. Perhaps maybe this is why it didn't work for Cody in AEW.
Yeah.
You're trying to be too meta with the reality that you find yourselves in. Not being funny. Wrestling, as we all know, is a scripted thing. You know, it has its own kayfabe, its own motives. Everybody has their own motives, but being either good or bad. But then, because this is too meta, I feel like they're kind of just wigging it as they go along, and there doesn't seem to be a clear plan. And I just don't know how to explain it. It's a bit too merry. It's a bit too on the nose when you want people who want to escape reality. Whereas I feel like Cena's thing, it's too founded in reality, which is like, whereas like Cody's like, I won't turn heel in AEW. That's what he did, and the fans were like, but we want you to, and that's why he tailed off and went back to WWE. So,
What? Well, Ross put something here that I agree with. Here. It seems like WWE is basically using the word "ruin wrestling" as an excuse to get away with subpar or flat-out poor production.
yeah, pretty much. That's
Could
what I
be
mean.
doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, but if
sorry.
you think, to start with, the premise of it was genius. In execution, they floundered. They have literally, it's flawed. Every single part of this is flawed. And as I said, they're figuring out what that means as they go along. They don't have a fucking clue. You can tell.
as of right now, John Cena did a great job ruining wrestling. It's just.
Not in the
Alright, look.
kayfabe sense of the word, though. It's a literal. It's quite bad in the literal sense. It's not ruin wrestling, and everything storyline-wise is great. You know what I mean? Everything in the real grand scheme of things is terrible. Okay, that's just the way it is. Because
So
in execution, they fucked it.
yeah, they did. So we're gonna go ahead and get off Backlash now, unless Des has a
mean, it
point to
would-
finish.
Yeah,
Nope.
sorry.
That's all I had to say.
Okay,
Like,
so go ahead.
if John Cena pisses me off one more time here when it comes to this here, I
I feel like he's gonna do that the entire time.
Yeah, if he fucking does that one more time at this point, I have no choice. I'm gonna wipe my ass with that shirt.
Well, not being funny.
Okay.
I don't think he ends his retirement year as a heel. I think he will turn babyface, but I think the longer this carries on being as bad as it's been, people will clamor
Yeah,
for him to
it's
turn
gonna hurt the
babyface
product.
sooner.
This heel
It's going to
turn,
hurt the product, and people will be clamoring for him to turn babyface again sooner.
to be honest, this heel turn
Okay.
for me has been a waste. It's been a waste.
Well, Here's
is, like,
here's the thing.
He's
And-
being a pussy about literally. I don't know. I have no idea where to fucking begin, because he's been. I'm lost for words.
All right, look, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this, and then we gotta move on because we have a whole lot more podcasts to do. The final word is this, and that is, so far, the Cena heel turn has delivered in some spots, but in other spots it hasn't. And in a sense of things, if they really want to turn this whole thing around, they need to make it interesting somehow. I'm not sure if it's too late or if they're not doing enough to make it, but they need to make it fucking just work in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they need to figure it out quick because people are starting to turn, and that's that. But
Yep.
we need to move off of this because we now have the wheel, and the wheel this time is determining the Wrestle Arc champion. Every single person, except for
Yes.
Des, ended up getting their predictions right.
Level scores in that sense, yeah.
But
Yeah. However, I am going to do the right thing here because I want this to be as fair as it possibly can be. I took one of my spots and I gave it to Des.
Okay.
Because she did her best. I'm not gonna lie. She came up with some actual good predictions, even though it didn't quite work out. She still deserves a shot at the Wrestle Arc title. That's how I feel. So I'm not afraid to hand over one of my spots.
biggest
Which is
tiebreaker in
right
Wrestle
and
Arc
fair at
history.
this point.
So, I do want to point out that the wheel is officially sponsored. So, the wheel is never disappearing from Wrestle Arc when it comes to deciding things now.
Hold
Because
on a
it's
minute.
sponsored
Hold
now.
on a minute. Hold on. We went from the wheel to being actually being hacked by Vega
Damn it, I can't say
to
that the
now
wheel
having
is
been
what it was
sponsored.
before.
Yep. So as many of you know, we now have a new partner, which is W Energy, which is, of course, now working with the BW Radio Network, which that is the official code. So the wheel is sponsored by W, so we need to thank them, especially with what awesome deals they got going on right now, including a new collaboration with Crunchyroll and stuff like that. So we need to support them. Go check them out. They have awesome stuff, but use code BW Radio Network, all caps. We're currently working on getting Wrestle Arc their own code. I guarantee you that we are working on that. And so much more. But anyway, all right, time to start spinning this wheel. Remember how we're doing this. Last name on the wheel is the winner. Last name
man
on the wheel
standing.
is the winner.
Yep.
And away
There
we go.
Let's go.
And by the way, Raul says the wheel is racist, because it is. Anyway,
I can't say that anymore.
and son of a bitch.
That's
All right,
radio.
we're off to a good start. As I need my spot back.
How the news
Aw.
gonna say?
No, I'm joking.
It's
Cool.
All right,
Yeah,
here we
yeah.
go. Round and round and round we go. I swear to God.
That's me.
Guys.
It's Peyton.
All right, round and round and round we go. Where it'll go, we'll
Yeah.
never know.
This will take for a while. And
Oh.
Oh
It'll
no!
last a while.
Oh, that girl.
I'm sorry, Dez. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm
Dez.
gonna cry in
Yeah.
the corner now.
Right.
All right.
I mean, Ross is the current champion. Always names are still on
No,
the
it's
wheel.
Ross.
So, see ya.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, or Liam.
I mean, I've still got two names on there, so I'm low-key kind of hoping it
I
comes
mean,
through.
yeah,
Do
I
not
don't
make me
know.
talk- do not make me
And
talk.
Alleged.
name is off.
Well, that's off. There we go.
Round and round and round we go.
You can tell this is the official Wrestle Arc wheel because our logo is now in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And
Noble.
it's off.
That might change with the W thing, but we'll see.
Guys, this
Yeah.
is going so well.
All right,
Yeah,
round and
all
I
your
know,
names are still on there. The wheel heard you and was like, I'm gonna prove this guy wrong.
Vega.
Vega's
Vega.
off.
Literally.
So
I'm the
there
only
you go.
one with
if
three names.
Raul said what he said, and this fucking thing gives him the win, I'm gonna be so pissed off.
Led's
Oh.
up.
Oh, that's
Is it?
all.
No.
That's
That was
all.
me.
One name eliminated. It's not being
That's
beating the allegations just yet.
That's
Vega.
That's me.
Peyton.
Peyton.
Night, night. Ain't and cash.
I have one
Peyton
left.
has one name remaining.
Yeah.
So, son of a bitch.
Sarah Radio, thank you.
Radio is
Radio
completely
is
eliminated.
And I'm out. Yeah.
Completely
Oh,
eliminated.
radio's out.
Yay. Keep my streak going. Uh,
And it's
No.
on me. Fucking damn it.
Noble. Yep.
Still got one more name after that, though.
so let me go ahead and do this read here while the wheel spins. You guys need to check out W Energy because they currently have a partnership going on with Crunchyroll now for their anime solo leveling. You guys need to check it out. They have different flavors. Check it out today. Liam has a name off the wheel. But like we said, go check it out today. We're currently working on getting Wrestle Arc their own code. Working on that right now, actually. So we're gonna try and get
Yep,
that
I'm
done.
off.
And Noble,
Noble
you're
Yeah,
was
yeah,
outside.
yeah.
eliminated from. Noble was eliminated from contention.
Once again. Fuck that
I like how
wheel.
I'm the one that spins this fucking wheel and I never win when I spin it.
That's Raul.
I've got one more name.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yep, I'm ready to claim it. I'm ready to claim.
So wait, who's,
You
who's
have
got the
one
most
name.
names?
Yeah, we have one lane left. I'm out.
And
Ah!
bye-bye, Peyton.
Peyton
Ah!
was eliminated.
So none of the cashes will hold the title.
Oh, why is it freezing for me now? That's Vega.
Oh. Yep.
Racist.
If it eliminates Vega, then we... Okay, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got one name on it still, but yeah, I think it's like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna, yeah, it's sticking to. It's gonna be all.
Here's the most annoying.
Not anymore.
see.
No. Now.
Ross's title reign is now in jeopardy. Let's go.
Ross.
It's between Ross,
Sneaky little
Vega, Lad, and Liam.
Oh wait.
Eh.
Oh, it's a lag.
Come home to Papa.
Oh, Lad got his next
Oh
name
my
off.
God, Ross has 2 names.
I know. Please get Ross's name
Liam.
off.
And Liam's out.
Fucking Liam's
I'm
off.
I'm off.
It's
Yeah,
between Vega, Ross, and
Vega, Ross, or lead.
no. Will Ross retain, or will there be a new champion?
Oh,
damn
it's
it.
out.
Out.
The odds are now in Ross's favor.
Let's see.
66% chance.
Will we see our
66
first double
2/3 chance of
champion?
winning.
Double digit champion.
And
Ross is
oh,
off.
10 chance.
Ross
Oh.
is off.
And Vega reached
here
10.
we go.
We have
And-
Christian Vega has the chance of becoming a 10-time Wrestle Arc champion.
Here we go.
And
And your
For all the
winner.
moves.
Stop, Vega. Stop.
it's freezing up. God dang it.
Oh my God, it's gonna
And
be Vega.
new
Vega.
Wrestle Arc champion.
Vega.
Vega is
And
Alright, let's
new
spin it.
Wrestle
Alright,
Arc
let's-
champion.
Let's see.
Who's the
Christian
champ? Even though his
Vega.
name's out.
10-time champion.
Or remember.
It's Vega.
I'm
It's the first
gonna
ever
keep on saying
Knowing
it.
that he's
The
not
wheel
here.
is racist.
It is, because it took all the names off. Anyway, so yeah, Vega
It
wins.
doesn't want
Vega
Indians
is
to
now
win.
8. Vega is now 8-time Wrestle Arc champion.
And on that note, I am going to bed.
Okay.
Alright, have a good night.
Good.
Goodbye.
Bye, Raul. Good seeing you.
Goodbye. All right. So before we get into the Raw, we have some wrestling news. We actually have a lot of wrestling.
I think we should start with probably the most
Jim Ross?
important.
Yeah, Jim
That's not-
Ross.
I was about to say the more important thing, which is that very important figure in the world of wrestling has tragically passed away at the age of
Good.
60.
Sabu.
The homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, whatever order it goes in. Sabu. Yes. So, I feel like we should probably let Radio speak on this one. Him being a ECW kid, you know.
All right. Let me just say, I know that everyone says that the faces of ECW, that one of the biggest names was, you know, Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, RVD. No one gave their body, their soul, more than Sabu. And let me tell you something. That man, he was up for fucking anything. He was willing to do anything with barbed wire, anything with a table, anything with a chair, anything that was considered hardcore. That fucking guy was the man. Okay? And I completely forgot about this until the other day. The last time I went to a WWE event, Sabu actually wrestled. I forgot about this because he actually did, and I remember it because it was him. It was a house show, so I'm trying to remember who he faced. He faced, I think it was Edge. I remember it was a random ass match too. And I remember him jumping off the very, he did like off the steel chair onto the very top rope, and then he leaped and he put Edge right, like Edge was like face first on the table. He fucking drove Edge right through that table. And I lost my mind at that. So, and you know, obviously growing up, I watched a lot of ECW, and let me just say, we lost a huge figure in the world of hardcore wrestling. And like I said, I know a lot of people may know him from, you know, his final match, which was the GCW with who'd he face?
Joey Janela.
Yeah, and whatever match that was, and a lot of people are gonna say that match was a factor in how he passed, and I'm here to say this now.
Yep.
What's up?
Yeah, the stipulation's a ropeless barbed wire match.
Yeah. I'm here to say this now.
But-
Let's
Yeah, it was
not.
at Joey Janela's spring break. It was Sabu's retirement match as well. So
Yeah.
And the whole
Let me-
story of that was there was a good chance he wasn't going to be there that day because he literally could not move. Apparently his feet were bleeding, whatever it was. There was a good chance, and Joey Janela even was like thinking he said I had to try and scramble to maybe get a last minute opponent in, and I would have to tell all these people, the 2,000 people, one of the highest paid attending independent shows of WrestleMania weekend, that the person they have come here to see is not here. And he did show up, thankfully, but apparently he was on a different planet. Whatever he was on was whatever he was on. But then Brett Lauderdale said that GCW are not necessarily happy with the comments Joe Janela made in his interview, but he also went on to say anything of me putting somebody out there who's not in a fit state to compete, I wouldn't do it, because anything like that, it's disingenuous. It's that, any other comment that says, it's basically slandering us in a way. Not being funny, Brett. And he says, I feel like my reputation for protecting people who work is there. But at the same time, it's 50-50 depending on whatever you hear about Brett Lauderdale and GCW.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, Janela's comments obviously changed a few weeks later after Sabu passed. Where it's like, yeah, he's a big deal. He's like, he's one of the reasons I am a hardcore wrestler primarily, and I do what I do. But Sabu, it goes without saying, is a pioneer. He's an innovator. He's a trailblazer. If you look at some of the stunts he was doing, that's a good reason why you see a lot of people in wrestling now doing what they do. Whether that be, going off top ropes, doing shooting star presses or crossbodies or whatever it may be to the outside, or whether that be off a chair or not. Or the thing about Sabu is whenever he did his stunts, there was a good chance, like 60-70% chance, he would land it, but it would never ever look perfect. It might take him a few tries to even, nail it completely. But that's one of the good things, that's the charm of Sabu, is that he was extreme, he was hardcore, he was punk rock in every extreme sense of the word that ECW was. And then, you got him doing One Night Stand, he gets a huge reception there and whatever, but then goes to places like TNA, still works the indies, and then, but yeah, no, I feel like it goes without saying, the world of wrestling has lost a extremely dedicated and really good guy, apparently, as well. Like, apparently he's really sweet. Any wrestler ever wanted advice from him or just a bit of his time, he would quite happily talk to them and, give them pointers on anything to do with wrestling.
Yeah. So, because growing up, obviously you hear some of the stories, and obviously a lot of people thought, oh, Sabu, was like this, obviously this jerk heading out to the ring and stuff and like that, but no, he would always give credit wherever it was due, right? Like he was such a professional, but yet he played it out, obviously, he played his character well in the ring, but backstage and everything, he was giving people credit no matter what. I remember it was him versus John Cena when John Cena lost the title to RVD, and I remember he had to prove how extreme he was, and he even took on Sabu. Sabu was everyone thought Sabu was gonna shit all over Cena, and Sabu goes, no, John helped me out. He spots. I even asked him if I wanted to do the chair spot, and John said, yeah, do it.
Hey, I want to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a testament to Cena as well. He knows exactly what works and what doesn't,
Yeah. I fully encourage you to go watch the ECW archives that involve Sabu, type of wrestler he is. Right now, they actually have the greatest Sabu moments on Peacock right now. I encourage everyone, no matter who you are, I encourage you to go watch that, because it's 5 minutes long. I encourage you to just see how extreme that fucking guy was and how much of a hard worker he was, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it was ECW, it can't be anything that great, but I'm telling you, that is one of the icons that made ECW great. I think him and Taz actually had a rivalry that was freaking out there. And so yeah, it was. But yeah, obviously, huge loss in the world of wrestling. No one will ever. No one will ever. Next time you think of hardcore, just remember. Always mention that name, Sabu.
But yeah, his reputation as like
Sabu.
a badass also stands because apparently, for goodness sake, go away! I'm busy. Sorry guys, my mom keeps trying to photobomb for some reason.
You're fine. You're fine.
Anyway, I'm trying to make a good point about somebody who's dead here. Thank you.
Jesus Christ!
Way to go, Lynn.
Good point about somebody.
Jesus fucking Christ! Man.
Anyway,
His reputation as
As
a
you're saying?
badass in the ring also extends to outside the ring. Like,
Yeah.
because he was very distrustful of promoters, apparently, up until his last match as well. He carried a knife in his boot because he was hopeful, because, you know, he was like, if they're not going to pay me, I'll make sure that they do. You know? And he was like, even when he went out to the ring, he's like, if something wrong goes on, I'm going to go back there and be like, am I still getting paid? You know? And apparently he even still, like, no-showed plenty of events over the past years and whatever. But if he knew, like, Sabu was, like, basically so hardcore and so punk rock, he's like, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say here is nobody can replace the legendary status of Extreme to what Sabu has done. Like he is
But yeah.
like absolutely cement the ECW legacy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know-
And I do want to say this, that I will say this. Even his biggest rival in ECW, I actually want to see if you guys know this. Who do you guys think his biggest rival was? 'Cause I can tell
Chris
you.
Jericho.
And
No, it probably was Taz.
No
Probably
idea.
Taz. Oh, Rob Van Dam.
You.
Rob Van Dam.
I think the more as a team for some reason. I don't know why.
they teamed up a whole bunch of times, but they also had like classic ECW matches against each other.
Yeah, but then there's I think he must have had
they
a
did.
rivalry with Taz because Taz made some comments about him on Dynamite. You know, he took his glasses off, you can see he was visibly like choked up and everything. You know, did a similar thing to what they did on Monday Night Raw. You know, they had the commentators or Taz specifically speak over like a photography montage of Sabu. And but yeah, no, if you ever feel like you're having a shit day, just remember to go hardcore in the memory of one Sabu.
And if you want radio's advice, and if you really want to honor the legend, do a leg drop off the top rope onto someone's head to remember him. Yes.
Yeah.
Remember that. In other news, this is some kind of sad news. Jim Ross has posted on Twitter that he has been diagnosed with colon cancer.
Fuck
Yeah.
cancer.
Yeah, it's a shit thing to hear about, you know. Voice of a generation or two in
What is
wrestling.
going on with all my idols, man?
Yeah.
I hate
And
this.
Life.
Getting old
I hate-
sucks. Getting old sucks.
I hate to see that. Like Jim Ross is like
You know? I know.
like Jim Ross is like literally one of the first freaking commentators I've ever listened to in WWE.
well, when I started watching, he wasn't around, but I remember they had him on, obviously, because the first thing I ever saw was WrestleMania 28. But he was on commentary for the. I used to play the WWE games before I even started watching it, so I had like a PlayStation 2, so before I had a PlayStation 3 in 2012. And I know I was late to buying everything, all the time. Still am, kind of.
I'm in the club.
And Yeah, no, as I said, he was like the voice in those games, like "Here Comes the Pain," "Shut Your Mouth," that sort of thing. But then,
Huh.
as I said, first thing I ever watched properly in the modern era was, well, the modern era at that time was WrestleMania 28, and he was on commentary for the end of an era match. And I was like, clearly he's not around anymore all that much. But then I was like, my God, is he so good? And it was just like he added so much to that match. And I was like,
I wish you guys would have watched the same WWE that I watched growing up back when it was WWF. Because let me tell you something. Jim Ross, I remember he had a stroke and he came back, right? You would think, oh, everyone has to be sympathetic to Jim Ross, right? They tried to turn him heel. You couldn't turn Jim Ross heel.
not a
But
chance.
I remember one specific.
No.
I remember. I'm gonna go ahead and say this, and I know we're ranting, but I don't care. There was one specific Monday Night Raw, right, where it was Jerry the King Lawler and Michael Cole. They were sitting there commentating Monday Night Raw, and all of a sudden there was like this thing that was pretty much built right in front of them. It was a miniature announce table for Jim Ross to sit at by himself, and he was with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Jim Ross like not only sat at that table and he goes, you want to sit up here with the professionals, King, or are you gonna sit back there with the boy? like, but this wasn't the best part. The best part was during a match, Michael Cole goes, I can't see anything in front of me because I got this big cowboy hat in the way, and Jim Ross goes, you're gonna have a big cowboy boot in your ass if you don't shut up.
Jesus Christ.
Like, they tried so bad to turn him heel, and he was like, fuck you.
Can't do
Whatever
that
the-
when everybody hated Michael Cole. Yeah.
But
Every
no,
other
time.
I wish you guys would have grew up with it, because anytime that man saw Triple H, oh my God.
I heard about
You,
this.
God damn you, Triple H. The hell with
You
you.
son of a bitch!
You son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch!
You son of a bitch!
Damn it.
But yeah,
Damn
the
it,
point
all
is,
hell.
well, we send all well wishes to JR or whatever, but he's had it rough
Yeah.
the last few years with his health. It has to be said.
I know.
But that's why you've not really seen him on AEW recently compared to like the beginning, where he was around
Yeah.
quite often. But now that the health issues have started racking up a little bit, because bless him, he's getting old. But I just hope, like with colon cancer, which can often spread to the spine and other parts of the body, can be quite dangerous and deadly. And I just hope for his sake he recovers. And for me, he's he's just a badass anyway, because he's Jim Ross. But as I
I
say,
mean, that,
everyone in wrestling is like sending their well wishes to him. I'm sure they'll give him the strength to fight it.
I've always
Cool for it.
said this part, right? It, like, growing up and watching wrestling, Jim Ross, like, I've listened to him not only go off on wrestlers, I've seen him take a Stone Cold Stunner, get his head shoved up Vince McMahon's ass. I've watched him get lit on fire by Kane.
I've seen that segment a few times.
Jesus Christ. But that man
That or
is
Millet
just such a
finishing the man's
professional, and
balls.
I know that everyone. Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, dear Lord, son, what the hell? So, like, growing up, and this is where it kind of bothers me, because I know that we're gonna sit here and say Michael Cole is the greatest of all time. I get that, right? Like, Michael Cole obviously deserves his flowers because the dude is a hard worker and he deserves it. But growing up, I listened to two voices in particular that. There's a reason I get annoyed with today's announce teams. Is because there was only two that I really heard growing up. And it was Jim Ross and the world's oldest teenager, the King, Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was in a video game. I had to do a callback to that because I saw that today and I was like, wait, what the fuck?
I mean, he's the world's oldest teenager, like the way you really gawk over women and whatever.
Puppies.
Yeah,
Anyway.
puppies, aka boobs.
Yeah, thank you, Noble. We know.
I don't know. But no, in all reality, right? Like, we do wish for a speedy recovery. Our thoughts and prayers are with Jim Ross. I know everyone can have their opinions, but opinions to one of the greats. Let's see, what other wrestling news do we got here? Let's see. This was announced that Tanaka and his family will appear on Saturday Night Live main event.
Tatanka,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another guy who,
And-
like, was a high chief or whatever, like, he wore, like, the thing on his head. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. He was a badass.
Basically, like, a Native American sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
shame they couldn't do anything with him, though. They could have
I
done
know,
more with him.
right?
Let's see, other wrestling news. CM Punk was on a live, and he goes, he doesn't hate Saudi Arabia, he's just never been there.
That's, yeah, I know he hasn't, but it's a bit, I suppose hypocritical is the word, but I don't want to use it, but when you're tweeting Miz years ago saying go to Saudi Arabia and getting your blood money, you know, it's, you know, it's a bit of a, but I guess it's
Yeah.
just Punk doesn't want to rule himself out of winning next year's Royal Rumble, possibly, you know?
No, fuck that.
Because that's in Saudi Arabia.
He had his chance, he blew it. So,
Twice.
it says here that Randy Orton and Nick Aldis is likely for WWE. Alright, I was pissed off when I read this. I have a full rant on this. Why the fuck would you have me believe that Randy Orton was going to be fighting Nick Aldis at Mania, and now you're going to extend it all the way out to goddamn SummerSlam? Okay,
Well,
I fully
Orton's
believed
RKO'd
that the
him
Viper...
twice since WrestleMania. It's fine.
I
Don't.
fully believed. And instead...
You're only
You bring
saying that
that-
because you don't believe in Joe Hendry, you son of a
bring
bitch.
the fucking blonde prick out for a quick match with Orton.
Well, Joe Hendry got some offense in. He wasn't squash country. Wasn't contrary to popular belief. He was not squash because he's still got some offense in. But still, I feel because Randy chose Joe Hendry, he made the right choice. He created a cool WrestleMania moment. He still won. Everyone's saying they buried the TNA World Title. You're wrong. Go fuck yourself. But yeah, no. If they do Orton and Aldis at SummerSlam, cool. Why not? 2 night event this year. Might as well make it as big as possible.
The other big piece of wrestling news that I got, and then we're going to get into the recaps, is the 2K DLC
New wave.
that involves Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Julia, and Stephanie Valkyr has apparently, according to some data that I saw, Stephanie Valkyr was actually the most played out of the DLC based off the release of the DLC.
Funny little changes.
And I think we all know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one move where she wraps her legs around and, you know, she goes, just slams her head with the legs, you know? And you, normally in real life, you hear Booker T going,
The devil's
Well, they
the devil's
actually
kiss,
show people doing that move on Booker T, and I was like, no wonder they fucking... Alright, good deal. But no,
Anyway.
apparently this DLC has been getting backlash
for the overalls.
because of the special celebrity guest that apparently is not involved in the DLC.
Well, they said it'd be revealed at a later date
Yet.
in WWE programming. So, but, or they'd be revealed. I don't know who it is specifically.
Well, I just think that if you're gonna have a DLC, you better just release the fucking. But not only that, there actually is one more piece of news.
What's that?
It is, and this, well, it's not really news, but it's something I want to read because someone posted it on Twitter.
That's not
Is
news.
WWE scripting other sports?
No.
Well,
What a stupid conspiracy.
someone has this whole theory.
Yeah, it's conspiracy
A
theory.
while
Moving
ago-
on.
No, we're doing it. I don't care.
Moving on. Stupid conspiracy theory. Moving on.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you actually want me to move on? We can.
Nope, go
I
ahead.
don't care. I'm asking Liam. because
if
I-
you want to read it, just read it. But it's probably
yeah,
really fucking.
I'll read the thing. It says here that Ty Halliburton and Jalen Brunson,
Just two
who
NBA
currently
players
play
face
for-
to face on a fucking WWE program, and all of a sudden the Eastern Conference
Yeah,
Finals
they-
has to be the Pacers versus the fucking New York Knicks. Oh my god!
well, they were saying that was scripted, but apparently, according to a recent post by these people, that theory has been squashed because of Noble Celtics. Because it's not the thing yet. All right, moving on. All right, we're gonna get off that shit now, and now we're gonna go to recaps. Yeah. So where do we want to start?
We'll recap Backlash, so SmackDown from last week.
SmackDown.
Who watched SmackDown last week?
Unfortunately, yes.
It's been a long week. Go ahead, Liam.
Let me just pull up the results because I myself don't really remember. I think it opened with like
Yeah, I
I
got
think
it
it
right
opened with
here.
a tag match between Priest and Knight. I think.
Where
I
is
could
it
be
here?
wrong.
Hold on, I got it right here. LA Knight and Damian Priest versus Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa.
Oh, see, I was going
Right.
on the right lines. I knew it was a tag match. Holy shit! Look at me. Anyway, yeah, that happened. I think let me a bleach report will help me out here. So yeah, some stuff happened. So yeah, there's a little tag match.
Do you just want me to read it?
It was a little tag match, there's some good spots, Damien Priest doing his own version of the old school. You had LA Knight doing his usual stuff. Then you had LA Knight and Damien Priest, they got the win after Sikoa tried to take advantage of the argument between Knight and Damien Priest. Because, how can they coexist? Oh my god. He hit a PFT on Solo, and then Priest and Knight got into a fight once the match was over, and then Fatu ended up taking both men out. But then, of course, full and familiar pattern of the build. Drew McIntyre came out, hitting Jericho Fatu with a Claymore to end the segment. Thoughts?
Yeah. The next match is what pretty much blew up social media and led to our server profile picture.
Yeah. So yeah, Selena Vega obviously needs a tag partner, but earlier prior to that tag match happening, there was a what do they call it? A girlogy or galogy, something like that. They were in Nick Aldis's office holding a funeral of sorts for Chelsea Green's United States title reign. So anybody comes in and says, "Oh, how about we have a tag match? Me and somebody versus you and Piper." And then obviously the heels make their entrance first. Selena Vega comes out. She sort of does this, and then folds her arms like that, standing this way, and then burn out. You hear the music of Alexa Bliss, and she comes out. She's back. Returns in the state of Ohio after being absent since the Elimination Chamber. They tied together. There was a good bit of back and forth action. But as soon as Green tagged in, the US champion took control, and then obviously it took until after a break for Vega to finally tag in Bliss. But when she came in, she was on fire. She hit her sister Abigail DDT on Chelsea Green to get the pin for the match after a short rampage.
So hopefully
So-
this means that we're going to be seeing a lot more Bliss.
Well, judging by a segment later in the show, could be an indication of who she feuds with.
Ooh.
So then you move swiftly on. You have Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax, but basically the winner becoming number contender to Tiffany Stratton. But there was a Charlotte Flair promo prior. She came, returned from the break. She came out. She's going back to the women's title. Brent, the crowd were just respecting her. She's about to storm off. And then after the break, Nia Jax made her way to the ring. And obviously this was two of WWE's probably pound for pound strongest women competing in a singles match. So there was a lot of pressure to make it feel big. Tiffany Stratton then arrived to watch the match at ringside. By the way, she was a joy to listen to during this match because she was basically just participating in the crowd shout. She was booing or cheering or saying Nia sucks or whatever. And I think even like she was just like, just enjoying herself. That was fun to listen to. After there was another commercial break, and then see Jay Cargill hit a big Samoa drop apparently. Even though I thought that'd be something that Nia Jax would do. And then there was a press time into one, but none of it was enough to finish off Jax. Then Naomi showed up at ringside and attacked Tiffany Stratton, which distracted Jay long enough for Jax to take control and hit her with the Annihilator for the win. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of,
Great.
shenanigans for that. Maybe there's going to be a fatal four-way for the women's title down the line. So you had, obviously in the immediate future would be Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax going one-on-one for the belt again. But then possibly there'll be some factors of Jade Cargill and Naomi also involved. We've also had some backstage moments where Legado del Fantasma attacked Rey Fenix backstage. So Aldis booked Fenix and Andrade versus Los Gatos. Apparently there was a slight change to Charlotte's music from Death Rebel, which apparently was not an improvement. Charlotte ran into Bliss backstage. This is what I mean. Alexa Bliss ran into Charlotte ran into Alexa Bliss backstage, but it was unclear what Bliss wanted to talk about with her, so maybe they go into a feud with them two at some point. So that could be exciting.
Oh boy.
Yes. Then we had the Street Profits versus Fraxium. We had Ford and Dawkins. They came out all bandaged and banged up after the Brutal TC match a couple of weeks ago. They spoke for a bit, but Fraxium came out and asked for a title shot. Otis came out and booked the non-title match. Match came back from the commercial break. They were already in progress. Ford and Dawkins were both saying their injuries from the TLC match. It started out a bit slow to begin with as well, this match, but then it gradually did pick up towards the end. There was a few crazy, fast-paced spots. There was a lot of fun spots, especially in the case of Fraxium, as you come to expect with them being one of the best tag teams in the world. And the good thing was, even though I was quite critical in saying that Street Profits was probably working a bit slower than they usually were, but of course that was just them selling the injuries from the TLC match a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I hold my hands up and say probably wrong criticism on my part. But again, it's just like that was a more room to breathe for the future. But Fraxium did score the win after a back and forth contest, and perhaps it does put them in line for a future WWE Tag Team title shot.
Nice.
So the call-ups already making a statement. Yeah. We had Carmelo Hayes versus Aleister Black. So we had the Miz at ringside for support for Hayes, obviously. Yeah, they locked up in a great exchange of counters and takedowns. Great exchange of counters and takedowns to get the action going. Hayes was unloading with some strikes in the corner, but Black no-sold it and fired back to send him out of the ring for a moonsault, which was an impressive bit of athleticism from Black. The match got more competitive during the break and saw Hayes getting a little more offense, but Black still maintained control most of the time. They quickly developed a lot of chemistry, put on a fun match. I would agree with that sentiment that I'm reading here from this Bleacher Report thing. I thought it was a very good match. The Miz did accidentally cost Hayes the match, though. Tried to distract Black, but Hayes crashed into him and Black rolled him up for the win. And then Miz obviously tried to come in to immediately attack Aleister Black, but I've arguably seen Aleister Black never hit a black mass so quickly in my entire life. He just went bang. It's like, you ain't getting me, bro. And then obviously we had Rey Fenix. This match was also a bit crazy. You had a lot of lucha libre going on, but
Very
the
good.
match was won by Fenix and Andrade after El Idolo, aka Andrade, was able to hit his finisher to get the win for his team. And yeah, as expected, a very fast-paced and entertaining match. All the four guys, obviously very good athletes and what have you, very good experts of their craft. So yeah, that was very nice. But after the match, Escobar ripped into Berto for losing, and things got tense before Berto stormed off, and Angel just looked confused. So, bit of tension within LDF of Los Garza. Yeah, but it even says here at the notes, having Fenix been attacking with anyone other than Penta. It's pretty weird, which I would agree with. But I was not used to that. I was like, whoa.
yeah. I was when I saw that, I was like, Jesus Christ! Like
Yeah,
it's
but
not the same.
It's just not the same. But even so, they are teasing the reunion of the Luchaverse sooner rather than later, apparently. So, according to the reports and whatever. So, even on TV, that's what it seems like. And then, obviously, we had a John Cena promo close the show. So, Cena came out for the final segment, got all the wishes than expected, but the crowd still sang John Cena sucks along with the music. Someone threw a beer bottle in the ring at Cena, and he just shook his head and threw it away with a lot of disgust. But, you know, you had the usual John Cena's introduction wasn't good enough, so Mark Nash has to come back in the ring, does the whole Unseen 17, you know, John Cena thing. Then Cena spent the last 10 minutes of the show verbally trashing Randy Orton, being assaulted Orton's dad and grandpa, and brought up a failed drug test from Orton's past. So there was a line here, which I thought, as I said, was entertaining and funny, which some of John Cena's heel promos of thing, which is like the best thing that Randy Orton's dad ever did was knock up Randy's mind. And I was like, yikes, you know. But like, and apparently, yeah, this was a solid promo from Cena, including a couple lines that got to be popular on social media. And then someone opening the mask, which I think was actually Sean Spears, based on the tattoos, and as was pointed out on social media, tried doing an RKO, and then Cena took him down with an attitude adjustment. But no, of course, it was an all a ruse. Who Randy Orton, who was apparently at home in St. Louis, was not there that night for SmackDown, which was in a different city. The real Orton showed up and hit an RKO a moment later to close SmackDown.
Jeez. I mean, when I saw the RKO, I was like, okay, because Cena did like this. Oh, I just took a massive shit face towards the camera. Then he turned around and RKO'd. I was like, yes.
But of course, as we knew at Backlash, whenever you hold up the title, it doesn't necessarily bode well for the who's going to win, you know?
Yeah, no.
So who the challenger is holding up?
Yeah.
Anyway, Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, Monday Night Raw. Alright. So, Monday Night Raw was in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah.
Yes,
They
it
had
was.
Pat McAfee and Michael Cole on commentary.
Yeah, but he didn't come out until a bit later on, did he, Pat?
Nope. Pat was late, apparently.
Son of a bitch.
Michael Cole opens up the show. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, we got a lot of stuff. But of course, who's the first man that shows up? Well, why, it's none other than CM Punk. He's pissed off. He says he's pissed off. Obviously, he comes out to the ring, does the tribute to Sabu. Then he gets in the ring. He says he's pissed off. Punk admits he has a lot of enemies, but number one with a big fat bullet is himself. Punk says they've been here before. It's not the first time Paul Heyman stabbed him in the back. Fool him once, shame on you. Fool him twice, shame on him, is what he said to himself. So, Punk says that they've grown in this company, or at least he has, saying Jay tried to warn him about Paul when he returned to the company. So yes, he's mad at Heyman, and he's mad at Temu, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. I heard that, and I was like, ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
But then he goes, he's mostly mad at himself, and he knows how this ends, and he can't wait to get his hands on Heyman. Then, ladies and gentlemen, then Punk goes, oh, great, here we go. Here we go. Where are you? Where are you, Penguin? Penguin?
Was like, yeah, it means like the Batman villain.
Yeah, not Walrus, but Penguin.
I mean, he does look like the Batman villain, Penguin, whenever he wears like suits and stuff, you know.
Penguin?
Just Penguin's fat, isn't he?
So then he starts coming down the ring. And Punk says, if you're going to walk with so much authority, you better get your ass in this ring and take this beating. And then, of course, Seth...
Put it down.
Yeah, and then
It's like,
called
that's all you are,
the
boy. You're
evil.
just a song. At some point, the bell's got to ring.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know if you can exactly say that to Seth Rollins, but yeah.
Rollins starts talking about how Punk's being egotistical as the crowd tries to drown him out in booze, but Seth presses on, talking about Heyman being Punk's best friend, only to make his life hell on the road to WrestleMania. And now he's trying to gaslight everyone by saying Paul betrayed Punk. Punk makes Rollins sick, as Heyman believed in Punk when no one else did. Rollins believed Punk is trash, among other things, and just when he thinks he couldn't hate Punk anymore, the man stands there as the reason Rollins is not the World Heavyweight Champion. Good.
Yeah.
Don't need him to be. Punk tells
He's
Seth
gonna be the.
he's never going to be champion as long as he's standing on his own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Rollins continues saying Punk wants to play the victim, and if he wants to die a martyr, Seth believes he can arrange that. He hopes Punk's prepared his last words, motioning Breaker to get into the ring. Punk mocks the former IC champion as Breaker slides in, and then the two immediately go until Braun takes Punk down in the corner. He backs away to take his jacket off, and this is the opening. Punk has to turn things around until Rollins intervenes, the two starting to wear Punk down. Sami Zayn comes out, but the sheer might of Breaker was too much. Let's see, as Rollins takes him out before looking to flatten Punk out with a chair, but Jey Uso then gets in the ring. And I was like, oh, Jey.
Yeah. He saved the day.
Yeah, he super kicks Rollins. Breaker gets the better of Uso, but Zayn gets in there with a chair to stop it before Braun, Rollins, and Heyman start walking up the ramp. And I swear to God, I honestly thought the Shield spot was going to happen again. I thought it was going to happen.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen again.
I saw Sammy there, and I was like, you son of a bitch.
I think Sammy's turning eventually. But I don't know when.
I was like, don't you fucking dare.
Well, as I said, I think Sammy's turning eventually. I just don't know when. You know?
So then we go. So then we go into a recap of Backlash and how El Grande Americano helped Dominic retain the IC title.
Yes, it did.
Back at ringside, Penta makes his way out for the opening contest as he faces Chad Gable. Michael Cole talks about Night of Champions and the SmackDown. Before that, takes place live from Saudi Arabia, June 27th and 28th.
So it's often Money in the Bank Night of Champions. Yeah.
Before Penta and Chad start their match, Pat McAfee makes his return to the commentary table. He's like, yeah, sorry, Ron. Yeah, I'm here. Yep. And then away they go. So it was Penta versus Chad Gable. The winner was Penta, obviously.
Along with the Mexican Destroyer, doing it Adam Cole style, out the corner.
That, I was like, you son of a bitch. I was like, that's an Adam Cole spot.
Yeah, that's the Panama Sunrise normally.
I think it's Adam Cole under the mask. I don't trust it.
Yeah, okay.
It could, you know. Meanwhile, during the match, pretty much says that. Well, Michael Cole continues to keep saying that Chad Gable is El Grande, and Pat McAfee is like, Cole, shut up. That's not. You're being a dick now. Cut your shit.
Yeah.
Then we get a video package. Roxanne Perez and Julia send a message to Raw Women's Division ahead of their tag team match against Io Sky and Rhea Ripley in the main event.
Very good promo.
Yeah. Then we go backstage again. We go to the Judgment Day spot,
The Clubhouse.
in which Carlito is heavily hitting on Raquel.
Piling on the pressure. So maybe we can
You
get
want-
dinner as friends or not. I don't know. Totally up to you. Whatever way is cool.
Carlito doesn't.
Yeah. We should go out to dinner. You pay though, right? I'll pay you back. Yeah.
Carlito has
was
no
it?
res.
Hold on, where is it? I know I posted the little thing. He goes, I know you miss Liv. We can hang out. Get something to eat or something. We can use your credit
That'd be
card. I'll pay you back. That'd be cool.
And then
I'll let you
also
know.
we had some Finn
but-
Balor and Dominic Mysterio stuff.
Yeah, Dominic comes in complaining about the time zones because he's like, oh, I'm not hearing from Liv, and JD's trying to explain time zones to
That boy
him.
doesn't know
Well,
anything
Finn-
apart from chicken tenders and women.
So Dominic asked Finn, what was the deal with why, pretty much why did I have to rely on El Grande when I asked you to help take care of that? And Finn was like, relax. I got your back. I gotta go get ready for my match. And then
With AJ
JD takes his
Styles.
skull. Oh, no, go ahead.
He was like, yeah, he's getting them ready with a match with AJ Styles, and then he disappears. And then
And
we
then
get the JD with a
JD
skull.
grabs the skull and he goes, so you see, Liv's here, you're here. You see the difference? It's like, Jesus Christ. Okay, I know Dom is dumb, but he ain't that dumb.
Look, man, the only thing he understands is
Dumb.
wrestling. The only thing he understands is wrestling, chicken tenders, and women. Not necessarily in that order. Sometimes it fluctuates. Okay?
We then get a video package of Pat McAfee taking the beating from Gunther, pretty much recapping that whole match. Michael Cole gives respect to Pat McAfee for the punishment he took.
Pat
at
McAfee's
this-
busted blood vessel in his eye. That's why he's wearing glasses.
Yeah, he also showed off some of the marks. Then the New Day's music hits, in which
Yeah, what kind of way?
Xavier Woods, Austin Creed, I need to talk to you for a minute here. Listen, man. As much as
That's
I as much as I like your hairstyles, man.
It's not it. That one.
That one, it don't work.
Nah. Get rid of it. Pronto.
To say it was S. So then Michael
Bad.
Cole starts talking about coming out of the commercial break. He starts talking about Saturday night's main event, and the match is now made official. CM Punk and Sami Zayn will take on Rollins and Breaker.
Yeah.
At Saturday night's main event.
That's going to be
Pac-
fun.
Backstage, Punk is sitting down in the locker room, and then here comes Sammy. Zayn talks to Punk about the match being made, with both men expressing their reservations going in. Sammy offers the proverbial olive branch, in which Punk accepts, as we head back to ringside for the next match, which was the War Raiders taking on American Made.
The Creed brothers. Julius and Brutus.
And American
Made.
Made got the win.
Yeah, the New Day provided a little distraction that allowed the opening for them to do the Doomsday device style Brutus Ball from the top. So that's to be maybe they're actually finally starting to heat up the Raw Tag Team division, eh? Who knows?
Yeah, they fucking better. They need to find a way to save it quick. I am gonna say, folks, that there is a reoccurring theme here throughout the night, and that is most of these matches end by interference.
4 out of the 5 apparently did.
Yeah. But yeah, American Made got the win. Then we go backstage to Seth Rollins talking to Braun Breaker about Saturday night's main event, saying Sammy and Punk have no idea what he's capable of, before whispering something into Breaker's ear before leaving the room. Elsewhere, Adam Pearce had a quick chat with Jey Uso about something to be announced later in the show. And then, obviously, it was time for some yeet, as Jay makes his way out to the ring, in which he picked up a kid and did some yeeting.
That kid's timing and rhythm with the song is on point, by the way.
I thought that
But
was
I think how about
awesome.
Jey Uso is like their arms went at the exact same time. I was like, whoa, that kid knows what's up.
Yeah.
Then I was like,
So it then goes on to talk about Saturday night's main event, in which Jey Uso will defend the world title against Logan.
Paul.
Yeah, against Logan Paul. In which Jey he runs down Logan Paul's previous remarks, promising after Saturday night's main event he will still be Gunther.
Well-
Dun, dun, dun. And Gunther's music hits, cutting off the champ, making his way down to the ring. The crowd reminds the former world champion that he tapped out at WrestleMania.
Multiple times.
And after Gunther
Uh,
basically says, you're not worthy to hold the belt and whatever, he says, come June 9th episode of Raw, so the first Raw after Money in the Bank, the winner between yourself and Logan Paul will defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther.
In which then Gunther's music hits, no, wait a minute, Jey cuts him off, promising to take down the YouTuber before he and the ring general run it back. Jay's music hits as Gunther leaves the ring, staring down the champ, while, because Jey wanted to remind him, he was like, hey, I'm here, this is where I'm at, you aren't on my level right now. Jey, he's gonna choke your fucking ass out, shut up.
Yeah, but it makes you think on the June 9th episode of Raw, that's where we're going to see a Money in the Bank cash in. So whoever wins the briefcase, they win in. Well, I think Jay's going to beat Gunther again, sadly. But then, spoiler for Saturday night's main event predictions next week, by the way.
But
But
wait,
yeah, I feel
wait. What are you talking about? Money in the Bank cash in?
Because Money in the Bank is on June 7th. Gunther and Jey Uso's match for the World Heavyweight Championship will be on June the 9th, which is after Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is on June the 7th.
Oh, I thought they were facing each other like the Raw after Saturday night's main event.
That's not June
Oh.
9th.
Oh, I'm stupid.
There's many days left in May, my friend.
Well, I'm here. Well, anyway, after that, we then get Io Sky addressing her opponents in tonight's tag match. And then Michael Cole goes into talking about Sabu and the passing of the legend. We then talk about Thomas Noble, who's watching something on the screen, not paying attention to any of this podcast, while eating popcorn and drinking out of a straw. Go back to what you were doing, Noble.
When the NBA players are at the same time, it's kind of difficult to pay attention. It's fine.
I don't blame him. But anyway, we then go
I dropped some
backstage, and a lot of backstage moments here. So one of the interviewers starts talking to Ludwig Kaiser, hasn't even gotten a word in, and Jey Uso, a commotion happens backstage. They run away from Ludwig before he can say any words. Jey Uso got laid out by Braun Breaker. He leaves as Sammy and Punk go to check on him. But back at ringside, Finn Balor is accompanied by Carlito and JD McDonough as they head down to the ring. Noticeably absent from this was Dominic Mysterio, in which the commentary is like, I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty much what they yelled the whole time to Carlito and JD. Where's Dom?
Where's Dominic?
Where's Dom?
Yeah, where is he?
Where's Dom? Dez,
Yeah.
where's Dom?
Where is Dom Dez? Where is he?
I don't even think she
Where
knows.
is he?
Where's Dom?
What is y'all's problem?
Well, anyway,
Everybody-
so then AJ makes his way out to the ring. AJ versus Finn Balor happens. Obviously, it was a good match. I'm not gonna sit here and complain because we got to see.
Yeah,
I mean, we got to see a lot of this should be pay-per-view, but
Two of my all-time faves going at it again after several years. In a one-on-one setting, and I was like, yes, very nice.
they did mention the Bullet Club thing.
Yeah, I mean, they were both in leaders of the group at one time or another. Finn Balor being the first, AJ Styles being the third.
Yeah, that was back when Finn was a prince,
Prince David
and AJ was fresh out of TNA.
killing it on the Indies, ROH, and New Japan.
Yeah. So Penta helps in that aspect because the Judgment Day was getting involved. Penta takes out the Judgment Day. Commentary then hypes Money in the Bank before looking back at Lyra Valkyria defeating Becky Lynch. And then Becky Lynch makes her way to the ring. And mixed reactions for Becky. She got boos and cheers.
Yeah, but she made sure to turn them full into boos by doing a "You People" promo.
I never been more upset with this.
I mean, at least I think Becky Lynch is justified in what she was saying compared to what John Cena's been doing. So,
Yeah, she pretty much says that she goes into running down the fans as they continue to boo. Eventually, she reaches the end by declaring that every woman in the locker room is going to understand what it means to be held down by the man. Then her music hits and she leaves.
there you go, Becky. Get them all. Be the man.
Then we have video package, and it's Rusev promising to continue his path of dominance.
Yeah, boy.
But then, backstage, we have Akira Tozawa telling Adam Pearce that he wants to face Rusev and get some revenge for what he did to Otis. Sheamus interrupts, asking for a match against Grayson Waller. And we get a rundown for next week's Raw confirming that, and other matches include a non-title match between Jey Uso and Braun Breaker.
Yes.
Yes.
Should be good. You know?
But then
It's fun to show before Saturday night's main event, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now we get the main event. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez and Julia. I'm not gonna lie. I fully expected the NXT people to win.
I think a lot of people did. And then
Against
people have been
Rhea?
accusing...
Well, here's why. I figured after all the attacks and everything, and I figured, Roxanne is trying to build a name for herself. 'Cause she's obviously main roster, and Julia, she's trying to build her profile. It's
Roxanne and Julia are still listed as NXT roster members, and until they officially get called up, that's still a thing.
Yeah, they're not gonna have EO lose. It's just me.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, but everyone then went on Twitter and bashed Rhea, and they called her Rhea Hogan and all that shit. They're like, why did she pin Julia? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, Roxanne Perez and Julia are not hurt in losing this match. Do you know why? Because they actually got a lot of efforts in, both tag team and individually, against either one of the two women, and looked really strong in defeat. So before you go out spouting your Hogans and all, these people are buried before they've even arrived. The fact they're even in a main event with two of the biggest women's stars currently on the roster is a good thing. They're not buried.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That comment really pisses me off. You're
What?
gonna
Insert
compare.
name Hogan. Insert name Hogan.
You're really gonna compare one of the greatest women on the roster to fucking just because she is
shit,
one of the
yeah.
most dominant stars on the roster. Go fuck yourself, people. I really can't. Like, you're really gonna sit there and compare someone who's actually out there busting their ass instead of someone who got pushed by upper management?
Like she even put a tweet out saying, "Oh, people who say, oh, I support women's wrestling," but in the same breath, she lists a whole bunch of pervy or negative comments that they always get from people or whatever. And I think Rhea Ripley is right to, defend her position and say, if you really support women's wrestling, actually support it. Don't, support us when it's convenient for you and fits your narrative, basically.
You want
As
to
in-
No, go ahead,
Right.
Noble.
Oh, as in, don't be a fucking dick to women's wrestling.
Well,
Yeah.
here's what I gotta say to those fucking people is if you guys are gonna call Rhea that, I want Bianca Belair called that. Because she was pretty much running through people.
Or any
Yeah.
of your favorites.
Yeah, how
who are
come you
October
guys
strong.
weren't comparing Bianca Belair to Hogan because she was doing the same thing that Rhea pretty much is? If you guys are really gonna fucking go there. Like honestly, you guys are gonna sit there and say that to Rhea but not fucking Bianca when Bianca was pretty much running through the entire women's division like it was nothing?
Exactly. It's all hypocritical, isn't it? Like, as I said, that's why Rhea said, only support women's wrestling. If you're going to do it properly. Don't do it when it suits your narrative or when it's convenient for you, basically.
And by the way, that's not me taking a shot at Bianca. I'm not trying to take a shot at Bianca. What I'm sitting there saying is you can't compare one wrestler to Hogan when she's being dominant, when we legit sat here and were like, oh my god, Bianca Belair is the greatest just because she's running through the whole women's division. Because
They say
she's
the same thing.
she's the EST.
They say the same thing about Becky. They call her Becky Hogan, but anytime she ever works with someone on the come up, what happens when after they work with Becky, they go up and up and up. It's not like, and for God's sake, Rhea Ripley is still like 28 years old. She's still young. She's entering her prime. And while she has done more than most people who at her age have done less, but the fact of the matter is Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch have two things in common. They both got organically over. Top Brass saw that, and they capitalized on it. You cannot say they are machine-made things. Forced down your throat until you can't deny them anymore, sort of thing. Like they did with Roman Reigns before he turned heel, sort of thing. It's like, it's not that same level of stuff. It's entirely different. But then after the match, anyway, Rhea did obviously share a little moment with EO that was friendly, but she's still reminded that she's coming for the women's world title.
Yep.
And I mean, like, that's why everyone wonders why I get mad whenever we talk about Bianca and all this. And it's like, I'm not mad at Bianca. Like, I don't hate women's wrestling. To be honest with you, I think women deserve a lot more. Like I said, I grew up in an era where, women's wrestling was something completely different in WWE than what it is now.
Quite frankly, embarrassing compared to now.
Yeah, like it's night and day. Like I believe that the women in wrestling deserve 10 times more respect, which is why I'm happy that they're getting main events and they're getting. Like, I was even happy when they got their own pay-per-view. I was like so happy about that. I was like, yes, like that needs to happen.
And at some point later this summer as well, that could potentially be coming back, Evolution. So
I hope it does. I hope it does.
Rumored to be 7 to 8 matches according to Aled as well.
But like I'm sitting here saying, if you're gonna sit there and compare one wrestler's thing, you gotta compare them all. Like, you can't just sit there and say, oh, Rhea's sitting there running through competition, therefore we're gonna compare her to Hogan. Okay. Then I want Bianca compared to that. I want Charlotte compared to that. I want Becky compared to that. I want, like, you can't sit there and say, oh yeah, it's just Rhea that's doing it. Like, that's not.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who either, though, because whoever you say, you can't win. Because with Bianca, though, not being funny, I think most of the fans on Twitter will play the race card. They probably will. Let's be honest. And then, because it's a toxic platform or whatever, but then you do the rest, and they're like, oh, but why is it always the white woman on top or whatever? And it's like, well, Triple H has said he doesn't see color, and what debatable sometimes maybe, but the fact of the matter is like, whoever is a draw, whoever is over, gets put in the more prominent positions. It's a fact of the business. Get over it. Just because your favorite's not being pushed, get over it. It's just what happens, okay? They look at numbers. They don't look at what people are saying on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way that I look at it for wrestling is that if your favorite star isn't getting over, deal with it.
Well. It's also on the talent for not. doing enough.
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
over.
because obviously either the company
Obviously,
just doesn't see
it's a
anything in
double-edged-
them, or
It's a double-edged sword at the end of the day
Yeah.
as well. It goes both ways.
I mean, look, if we're going based off just fan reactions and everything right now, I
Realistically,
guarantee you, if that was the way that we were running things, Karrion Kross right now would have a fucking belt around his waist.
I feel like his time's coming. You know,
Well,
I feel
Triple
like-
H, hurry up, because I want it.
'Cause he has the #1 selling shirt. So
Well, this
Yeah.
is the problem: is WWE doesn't strike when the iron's hot for most of these guys. Like they have a guy like Karrion Kross, but they don't fucking strike. Like the dude is obviously hot right now. Fucking use him, god damn it, use him the right way.
put a rocket on the man and let him go to work because he does good work.
Like we know he has a hot wife. Yes, we know he's doing this weird kind of Dr. Philish character. But dude, come the fuck on. Like you've seen him in the ring. The dude can be fucking dominant. Just freaking give him the reins and let him go. Please.
Yeah. Now let's move on to NXT.
Finally took forever.
Yes.
Anyway,
Well, fuck you then.
Well, if you don't want us to recap shows anymore, just say something. We've had a lot to go.
Okay, you want to what? Speedrun NXT there, smartass.
no. I'm just kidding. Jesus
Nope.
Christ.
Speedrun NXT. Let's go. Come on. First match.
So that they start with NXT start with a promo with No Quarter Catch Crew and the number contender Miles Bourne, which he did talk about. Well, his disability, which is partially deaf, and he delivered a very powerful promo, which I really enjoyed hearing. Even though his speech is kind of off because of his disability, and he in a powerful statement, no matter what disability you have, think of it as an ability, which it is a very fucking big ass statement for a guy
powerful
who has a
message.
disability. Yep, take that from me here, autism. So, anyway, move on to the first match is Open Femi versus Charlie Dempsey, non-title match, which all but fucking killed Charlie Dempsey to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, Obafemi obviously was never in doubt to lose a match, but I still think Charlie Dempsey got in some good offense, showed his technical prowess as far as the mat's concerned and grapples and what have you. But yeah, no, obviously Obafemi beating Charlie Dempsey, never in doubt.
Yeah, nobody's gonna stop Oba, for fuck's sake. Tony D'Angelo versus Wesley, but during the match, Channing Stacks Lorenzo was at Adriana Rizzo's safe house while fucking Tony D was distracted and Wesley picked up the win.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I still thought it was a decent match, but no, of course, I feel like Stacks is doing some very good character work at the moment, and he's quite. They're portraying him as quite a scary. He's the mob boss now rather than Tony D, and Tony D's now having to fight from underneath. And quite later on in the show, obviously, he leaves to go and save Rizzo. He's then attacked by Stacks, and Stacks then says, "I challenge you to a match at Battleground," pretty much.
Yep, which is that match is confirmed.
Yes,
And-
it is.
Next, we have a promo from Stephanie Vaquer until they got interrupted by fucking Fatal Influences, Fallon Henley, and JC Jane.
Yes. And then I think that leads to a tag match for the main event.
Tag match main event, yep.
So it'll be Stephanie Vaquer and Jordan Grace.
versus Fatal Influence, yep.
Yeah, because Jordan Grace came out later on, obviously, and that was made official.
Then Ethan Page versus Miles Bourne, the number contender spot on the line. But with courage and flip the momentum here, Bourne to pick up on the win, which he
Yes, he did.
should.
And obviously that means he will actually go on to face Obafemi at Battleground, which is absolutely the right move. I
Yes.
think Miles Bourne's been doing some really good work lately. Obviously, Shawn Michaels has seen that. I feel like Miles Bourne is slowly getting over with the NXT audience, and I feel like even though I don't think he'll be Obafemi, I still think we'll have a good showing.
Yeah, but most people never seen Miles Bourne compete. Like, I get it. Like, he's fucking good in the ring. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Then we got Thea Hale against Tatum Paxley, and yeah, Tatum Paxley's fucking changed. She's unhinged.
Well, you know, when Gigi Dolan and Shotzi both get released or contract expired, in the case of Shotzi, you know, she said all her friends have betrayed her. I'm not sure if I agree with portraying the narrative that way, but I feel like, you know, it's still going to be a good direction for Tatum Paxley to go, sort of harkening back to her earlier character. But again, I feel like, again, it's just, obviously it's a sad situation that Gigi Dolan and Shotzi are no longer in a company, and Chemical X is no more. But I feel like Tatum Paxley is going to make the best. I think Tatum Paxley will make the best of a bad situation because she's talented enough to do so.
Yep. Thea Hale win by disqualification, which fucking Tatum Paxley gouged her fucking eyes. Jesus Christ. And then we reach to the main event.
Where was he?
Influence against Stephanie McCare and Jordan Grace. Which Jordan Grace and Stephanie pick up the win here. After the match, there was a chaotic exchange between both Stephanie and Grace. At the end but as NXT is about to end, Ethan Page attacked North American champion Mickey Saints.
Yeah.
Backstage.
Before the match as well, for the main event, we had the contract signing between Trick Williams and Joe Hendry for the TNA World Championship at Battleground. Yeah. They both exchanged some words. It was very heated. Thought it was a very good segment. And I feel like the match at Battleground, I feel like it's going to be solid enough, but I feel like Joe Hendry's coming out with a win.
Yeah, Joe Hendry better fucking retain.
Even though Trick Williams as TNA World Champion would be an interesting proposition if he wants to go to TNA more and hone his craft. But I still think, you know, Joe Hendry's going to win. So,
Yeah.
Right then. Final show, and then we can probably get out of here. So let me just go get the AEW Dynamite results for everybody.
I did not watch this, so.
AE Double Poo.
Well, actually, it was a good show last night, mate. So you might want to rein in your abuse that you never always seem to justify.
It was Beach Break, I believe it was.
AEW Dynamite Beach Break, yes, it was. It opened with the tag match of Will Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page against the Don Callis families, Josh Alexander and Konosuke Takeshita. It was a very good back and forth match. There was a lot of good high spots. There was one particular moment in the match where Ospreay and Hangman were both looking for some stuff. Ospreay eventually comes around. He's going to hidden blade Josh Alexander. Alexander ducks, and then Ospreay, before he elbows Hangman, who's behind the ducking Alexander, and they stare at each other for 30 seconds, and there's just a clear intensity. But for two guys who haven't tagged together before, they look like they had some really good chemistry and what have you. And yeah, they refocused enough after that miscommunication and hit a box shot there and hidden blade combo, which, by the way, chef's kiss. I loved it. It made me feel warm and fuzzy on my tum-tum.
I did see that move on Twitter. That was awesome.
Yeah, and then after the match, Konosuke Takeshita attacked, but the Aero Saturn fought him off. Ospreay took an inadvertent shot at Hangman, and the two almost came to blows. Yeah, very good, phenomenal opener, helped by the tag team chemistry of both teams. Then perhaps if they ever do a tag team story for Ospreay and Hangman, who knows, maybe one day that could be really good, but I don't think that's going to be anytime soon, because obviously this was, this is all about building towards the Owen final at Double or Nothing between those two men. Next up, we had Ricochet versus Zach Gowen. So if you're familiar with early 2000s WWE, Zach Gowen was involved in some stuff with Brock Lesnar. He has one leg. He was once F5'd into a ring post and pushed down a flight of stairs. by Brock Lesnar. So, but Ricochet, the large parts of the match were about Ricochet mocking Zach Gowen, and then apparently Gowen even still showed some heart and fought back. But the one and only did dodge a moonsault and hit the spirit gun to the win. There was a particular funny moment in the match as well where Ricochet did try to deliver the figure four to Gowen, but obviously because he's only got one leg, he can't do that. So, you know. But yeah, no, this was Zach Gowen's like first match on a televised show in about 20 something years, and apparently he did a good job. So, but yeah. Ricochet continues to look like a bit of a dickish heel, and I suppose, perhaps there was one kick out too many though, because when Ricochet did the vertigo, perhaps maybe Gowen should not have kicked out. After that, we got the Hurt Syndicate versus Top Flight, which was a really quick squash match where Bobby Lashley did the spear and then locked Dante Martin in the Hurt Lock for the submission, and that was for the win. And then afterwards, we got Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, who are known as the Sons of Texas, came out to call their shot for an AEW World Tag Team Championship match before the crew, CRU, so that's Leo Rush, and I'm not quite sure what the other dudes. I think it's Action Andre, actually, interrupted. MVP agreed to let the winner on Collision face the Hurt Syndicate at Double or Nothing. Spoiler alert, it's going to be the Sons of Texas. So Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara will be facing the Hurt Syndicate at Double or Nothing, which I don't quite get because they probably should have done that at All In, which is, of course, in Texas. And then after that, we obviously got the Hurt Syndicate's answer to MJF. MJF, of course, was generally terrified of receiving another note from Bobby Lashley and hid behind Tony Khan backstage. But Tony Khan, the little snitch, pointed out exactly where he was. Sean Benjamin said, "Oh yeah, we need to come out to the ring." It's like, and they're just like, you know what? You're absolutely right. That's an absolutely really good idea. Let's go and do that. And then all three of them, it looked like at one point Bobby Lashley was, he was doing all this. He was teetering. It looked like he even shouted. There's really well shot as well. It looked like Shelton Benjamin was going to super kick MJF, but then eventually the first thumbs up went up. So MJF is in. Yes, what?
Your camera's frozen.
Fuck.
Camera's frozen for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I
Fuck
just
it,
realized that.
I'll turn it off.
I just noticed. I'm sorry.
Fuck it, I'll turn it off. Never mind.
Turn it back on.
Fuck off.
Giggling, his face is getting like up here, and I'm like, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Like,
And instead, the long-awaited moment has arrived. MJF has joined the Hurt Syndicate, which is a very good option at this stage. It's set up fresh stories for both MJF and the group in the coming months. So
Yeah, until they're gonna have Shelter. Until what's his name?
Lashley?
No, Senator Alexander.
Yeah, that's when I think MJF will bring in a group of his own, but it'll be way down the line. As I said anyway, later MJF said he needed his lawyer, Smart Mark Sterling, to look over his contract with the Hurt Syndicate next week before signing. Following that, we had the Championship Eliminator for the AEW Women's World Championships. We had Toni Storm versus Azumi versus the full-time AEW roster debut of Mina Shirakawa and the returning Sky Blue. After some wild...
Mina Shirakawa.
Mina Shirakawa caught Toni Storm with a reverse small package to a large package for the win. The graphic quickly went up showing Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa will be for the AEW Women's World Championship at Double or Nothing. Aubrey Edwards tried to help Azumi to the back, but Mercedes Moné attacked her, but Jamie Hayter made the save and locked the CEO in a statement maker until officials broke it up. And as far as good debuts go, I thought this was a good success, but there was a thing with Mina where her music was different, so was the dance. But after the match, we'll revert it back to her old stardom music because Tony Khan immediately saw the backlash on Twitter and was like, "Yeah, I changed it." Back.
Dude, I could not be any more happy. I'm getting my two favorite women getting ready to face each other for our world title.
What, Tony and Mina?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be good, I think. Azumi was also good. It was Blue is still clearly putting it all back together in the ring, obviously, just coming off a really big ankle injury, but Azumi was also a major star throughout the contest, so I thought, she's the New Japan Strong Women's champion. They're carrying on that sort of storyline there with her and Mercedes Moné, perhaps at a future time. But obviously, it was concentrated on building two matches for Double or Nothing, which of course was the AEW Women's title, which will be Tony and Mina. And then also you got the Orange Heart Women's final, which is Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Moné. Then we had FTR tried to convince Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness to fight them. So Nigel McGuinness apologized to Tony Schiavone and Daniel Garcia for getting involved in Garcia's match with Dax Harwood on Collision last week, I believe.
Yeah.
Garcia tried to convince the commentator to keep up the fight with FTR. Stokely Hathaway then offered a tag match, but Garcia and McGuinness teamed against FTR. Stokely Hathaway also said a really, a bit of a ooh sort of line, which was like, how did you think you can beat FTR when you, meaning Nigel McGuinness, barely beat Hepatitis? So, and then Stokely Hathaway said that FTR went there, but of course they were there. They attacked the rivals in the ring until Danny Magic, Matt Menard made a save with a crowbar. So obviously this was an immediate follow-up to Collision, strong storytelling. And it was aided in particular by McGuinness telling the truth of his chances against FTR. So, yes, very nice. Could be potentially a match for Double or Nothing. And it could set up a Adam Copeland return for his revenge on FTR. And then obviously commentary delivered a tribute to Sabu, particularly allowing Taz to talk about his relationship with his old friend. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, when we were speaking on Sabu, visibly choked up, and that was all said during a photography montage. Then we move on to the main event, which is the AEW World Championship match, defending champion Jon Moxley versus Samoa Joe inside a steel cage. It was a violent and brutal match, but Samoa Joe caught Jon Moxley in a coquina clutch. Death Riders tried to come in and interfere, but Willow Nightingale and Powerhouse Hobbs stopped Death Riders from interfering. But then a surprise person in a black Newcastle United hoodie threw the briefcase to Mox, and Mox delivered that and get the win, which of course that was revealed to be Bullet Club War Dogs Gabe Kidd.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this now. While I get the Death Riders is like, it's been largely boring. It still kind of is. It's steadily improving, but I feel like it's almost too little too late. I'm happy for Gabe Kidd to get some exposure on AWTV, but I'd rather be literally doing anything else. But obviously this is all setting up Anarchy in the rear, as I'm about to tell you, because afterwards the Young Bucks came out to do more damage. Kenny Omega tried to make the save, but Kazuchika Okada hit him in the gut, which of course plays into Omega's diverticulitis stuff, and sent him into the ring. The Elite lowered the cage again, then Swerve Strickland's music hit, sending the arena into raptures. Swerve goes off the top of the cage, blasting everyone with Swerve Stomp. The heels bailed, and the Mogul announced Anarchy in the arena for Double or Nothing, or at least challenged them to a match at Double or Nothing in a form of that. So that's likely going to be intergender and stuff, but that's what closed Dynamite. So overall, I thought, by the sounds of it, decent show and what have you. But AW, as good, I think after Revolution, they've been doing some really good stuff, But obviously, there's still 1 week of Dynamite where it's like really inconsistent in terms of what's been put on the card. But 3 weeks out of the 4, still very solid and good show. Next week's the Go Home show to Double or Nothing, so hopefully there's some, big and interesting stuff happening as well.
I hope so.
But yeah, that's all for everything, I guess. Next week we will be back. We have Saturday night's main event and Double or Nothing to predict for you, and obviously we'll go over the shows ranging from this week's tomorrow night SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, NXT, and the Go Home show on Dynamite to, obviously there'll be all Go Home shows to, Saturday night's main event or Double or Nothing, or in the case of NXT Battleground, which is happening the same day as Double or Nothing. So
yeah, let me see what's advertised for. There's nothing advertised for tomorrow's SmackDown.
What, next week? No. I think the Money in the Bank qualifiers start tomorrow night on SmackDown and continue into Raw. But, because Money in the Bank is getting close now. It's kind of crunch time as far as that's concerned. But yeah. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Do you want to do another sponsor read before we get out of here, or not?
Yeah, a big thank you to Fanatics.com and a big thank you to W Energy, which is the new sponsor for the wheel whenever we need it. They're the best. Like we said, use code BWN Radio Network in all caps at checkout when you guys use it. It helps not only sponsor my channel, but also helps sponsors Wrestle Arc's channel as well. We're currently working on getting Wrestle Arc their own code. Trust me, we're working hard to get it. So on and so forth. But yeah, so we'll see you guys next week. Yeah.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Hopefully Payne's there hitting the end button. Des, can we?
I ain't looking at Des. Des is in control of Peyton.
Did you want to yell to him that we were done with the podcast?
Hey, Todd.
Payne.
Nine.
I bet he's
Jesus
falling
Christ.
asleep.
I'm getting up.
No, Des told us that he was downstairs. He's coming, Des. Just.
I mean, like,
I have to get up. I'm beating
I mean, I would understand if he's tired. We have been going for over like 2 hours, so.
Did you already do the outro and stuff?
Have you ended it?